In today's video, I'm going to show you how to structure a creative real estate deal. Coming up. Hey everybody, it's Jamel Gibbs. Listen, recently I got a question from someone on my Instagram page by the name of Sell That Home Fast. And he had a pretty good question in regards to structuring creative deals. Now, as you guys know, I do a lot of wholesaling. I do a lot of creative deals. Back in the day, I've done a lot of rehabbing. I've done new construction. I've done commercial deals, any type of deal that you can think of in regards to real estate. I've been there, I've done it over the past 19, 20 years. And what I've found over that time frame is that wholesaling and creative investing fits my personal lifestyle. So that's all I do at this point, just wholesaling and creative investing. I've been doing creative investing for over 10 years. I've been doing wholesaling for close to 15 years, and rehabbing and things like that, I've done it since the beginning of my career, but I stopped rehabbing for the most part as of 2 years ago. But the reason I'm telling you all that is just to tell you that I've been there, I've done it. I've been qualified to talk about this for a long time, and that's what I plan on doing. So I have my cell phone that died, and I had to use my cameraman's cell phone today in order to get this question read, pretty much because I don't know the question in my heart. He has a property that he'd like to do terms on. He says it has an ARV of $65,000 to $70,000. The seller is open to $38,000 on terms. And he asked me, how would I structure that deal? So here's what he had in mind as far as structuring the deal. He said he was thinking about $10,000 down, amortized over 60 months with an annual interest rate off of, with the 10,000 off of the 38, he's at $28,000. He's thinking of an annual interest rate of 3%, payments on a monthly basis of $503.12, with a balloon payment due after the 60 months of $17,803.83. So he asked me if this looks correct. How would I structure the deal? How would I market the deal? There's a lot of moving parts to this question here, and there's a couple of different things that's missing. First and foremost, let me talk about this. When it comes to creative deals, if I were to look at this information that was provided, I don't have enough information to be able to dictate which way to go. And you're gonna understand exactly why I say that as we go on throughout the video. I appreciate the question, by the way. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm gonna try my best to help you out as much as I possibly can with the information that I do have, so that you can be able to take this information and go ahead and create a deal and possibly put some profits in your pockets. So first off, when I'm looking at a creative deal, I'm looking to get all of the basic information that you need. I previously did a video on this, on reviewing the seller script. I'll link it up at the top so that you can check it out. And you'll have the actual questionnaire that I use in my business, or that my virtual assistants use in the business, in order to be able to qualify a suspect lead and turn them into a prospect. Understanding that suspects turn into prospects, prospects turn into deals. I want you to download that seller script, and I want you to use it. Watch the video, use the script, and then you'll have a clearer understanding of why I need certain information in order to be able to dictate how to structure this offer. But let's just say I had all of the information I needed. Here's what I want you to keep in mind. When you're qualifying a seller, there's two main questions that you want to ask in order to determine if the seller is a creative type of seller or not. All right, question number one is, will you take what you owe on a property? Are you open and if you're willing to take what you owe on a property, are you open to a lease option or owner financing, if that was an option of working with us? All right, so that's two questions there. Will you take what you owe on a property? And one thing about that question is, if the property is free and clear, be cautious in asking that question because it's an insult to the seller, to say the least. The main part of the question, the twofold question is, are you open to a lease option or creative financing owner financing if that was an option that we can present to you. And if they tell you yes or no, then that's going to dictate our next move. Thankfully, you told me in this particular question that you had to me, that you sent over to me, that the seller is open to terms. And obviously you negotiated a price of $38,000, which leaves some breathing room there. Now, my only question for you would be, what was the least the seller was willing to take as a down payment? What do they have in mind as far as a down payment in order to get this deal done? Or are you offering to put down the $10,000, which I think honestly is a mistake. I'm trying to put as little down as possible on properties, especially when I'm gonna purchase them or take control of them. As little down as possible. So the first thing you have to negotiate is your down payment with the seller. Don't go to the seller and say, hey, I have $10,000 down. Will you take this in exchange for doing seller financing? You already got the seller to agree to do the seller finance deal at $38,000. So what you want to do, in essence, is go to the seller and say, hey, you know, I want to make this deal happen. You know, I know we agreed to the $38,000. How much were you thinking in regards to a down payment? What's the least you can do as far as a down payment on a property? Because you might be surprised. The seller might turn around and say, hey, you know, if you give me $2,500, we can make the deal happen. Or if you give me $5,000, we can make the deal happen. That leaves you with more money in your pocket at the end of the day, right? Let's say the seller came to you and say, hey, give me $2,500 down, and I'm willing to finance it for you. You know, at the end of the day, you get to keep $7,500 extra dollars in your pocket based off of your $10,000 assessment, right? So that's rule number one. Let the seller tell you what they're looking for down. If it's too high, then you negotiate it down. But don't ever spit out the first number. I know you know the rule of negotiating. The person who offers the number first loses the negotiation, right? That rings true right here. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. The second thing, based off of that number, you know, I need to know what type of deal we're structuring here. So again, remember what the question was. Are you willing to do a lease option or creative or seller financing on this particular deal? So maybe the seller is willing to do a lease purchase on it, right? That deal will be structured completely different than a deal that is seller financed, all right? But let's just assume, based off of your numbers, that the seller is willing to do a seller financed deal. There's a couple of things I need to know. I need to know if there's a mortgage on the property, because then that's going to tell me if we're doing a subject to deal, if we're wrapping the loan, or if we're doing a straight owner finance deal. So you can see how that little bit of information is crucial when it comes to understanding how we're going to structure this deal. But again, let's assume that based off of what you told me, we're going to assume that the seller is doing owner financing and the seller doesn't have a mortgage on the property. Based off of these numbers, $38,000 can work. We would just want to know what type of interest rate the seller had in mind. I would personally offer whatever the going market rate is on the on the interest. So if it's let's say 4.5% right now, then I would offer 4.5%. If it's 3%, then offer the 3%. But you have to come to a fine medium with the seller based off of what they're comfortable collecting from you on a monthly basis. So number one, you need to find out, what you already did. You found out if the seller was willing to do creative financing, and they said yes. Now you need to negotiate the down payment. Don't ever put out the first number. Then you need to negotiate the monthly payment, which will be based off of the interest rate that the seller is comfortable with as well, based off of what the seller is willing to collect in their pockets every single month. The next thing you need to find out is the length of time that the seller is willing to allow you to finance this property. So you told me 60 months. What if the seller is willing to do 30 years? Don't shortchange yourself. Again, based off of the information that you provided me, yes, you can offer a balloon payment after a certain period of time, but personally, I wouldn't shortchange myself on a deal like this. I would see if the seller is comfortable with me financing it from them for 30 years. If they're not, let's say they do 10 years. Let's say they do 5 years. If they say 5 years, then what you can do just to keep your payments lower is you can amortize it over 30 years or 20 years or 15 or 10 years, right? Based off of what the payment is going to be and how much you're looking to collect on a monthly basis as far as rent. Then you can offer the seller a balloon payment within a 3 to 5 year time frame based off of what the seller is comfortable with. So as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts to it. Sellers, the way you structure these deals is based off of what the seller tells you. All you're doing is making it enticing to the seller, and you're being creative in doing it. You're on the right path, but I don't have enough information to be able to tell you how to structure your deal particularly, but these are just some things that I would personally be looking out for in the long run. Now, as far as exit strategies are concerned, there's a lot of different things you could do. You could assign your owner finance contract or your subject to contract. I just did it. We're making $20,000 on a subject to assignment on within 2 weeks from yesterday. September 9th, we're collecting a check for $20,000 for a subject to assignment deal. Okay, that's because I assigned my contract to another buyer. I didn't feel like taking on that particular property subject to. You can do it through owner financing. The same thing you could do wholesaling houses, you can do in owner financing, creative investing. You could do the same exact thing. Or you can turn around, and one of my favorite strategies is taking the property, let's say subject to owner finance, lease option, sell it on the other end as a lease option based off of what the market rent rates are, and I increase that by 10 or 20%, collect money every single month after picking up a down payment. So in essence, what I'm doing is I'm collecting money 3 times on those types of deals. Money up front, money every month, and then money when I sell the property on the back end. So how do you make money? Let's say, for example, using the $2,500 as an example from the seller finance deal, what I would do is turn around and put the property up back on the market for 70 or 80. I would put it up for 80,000 in this case, because you said it, the ARV on it is about 65 to 70. I would put it up for 75 to $80,000. I would turn around and ask for 10, 15, or $20,000 down. I would make the seller, the buyer, responsible for fixing the property, make them have a vested interest in the property. And I would turn around, if your payment is $500 a month or $503 and whatever cents per month, I would turn around and ask for $800 to $1,000 a month, possibly $1,000 based off of the market rents increased by 10 to 20%. I would sell it rent to own, and people will pay this because they don't want to go to the bank and get a loan because either they don't qualify, or I've had people tell me that they just don't trust the bank. So these are all different things that I would do in order to market the property. And I would first test it out on Craigslist and the Facebook Marketplace in order to see what type of activity you get. So a lot of things discussed in this particular video, a lot of things that you want to keep in mind when you're structuring these deals. But at the end of the day, negotiate your down payment, negotiate your interest rate, negotiate the fact that the seller is willing to do something creative, and then put the deal together. On the flip side, decide on what your exit strategy is. Do you want quick cash, or do you want to collect money up front, money every month, money on the back end? And that's how you attack that type of deal and make a whole lot of money doing it. Hope you found some benefit in this answer. I hope all of you benefited from this. And be sure to share this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what's on your mind, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.